Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our council meeting. This is Wednesday, June the 7th, 2023. I'd like to welcome those that are joining with us in person and as well virtually. Before we begin, I would like to remind council, if you have a declaration of pecuniary interest, to declare it at the appropriate time. Several announcements. First of all, June is Seniors Month, and we'd like to recognize that and be kind to all of our seniors.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome back, Deputy Mayor. Also, too, a happy belated birthday to Councillor John Van Claveren. Sorry we missed the barbecue, John, but that was nice. Thank you. And a couple of further announcements. One of Wyoming's residents, Brett Gray, been selected and being inducted into Sarnia-Lambton Sports Hall of Fame. Brett was very instrumental in baseball throughout his career, and continues to this day to be a coach for the younger generation coming on. And another highlight, today is National Chocolate Ice Cream Day. Just thought I'd share that with everybody.
I don't see any on the table.
It's in the
In the Jacobs cup?
in the freezer. Okay, this evening we have a delegation, and it's my pleasure to welcome Dan Taylor, the CEO, and as well as Chantel Court, Interior Business Enterprise Center of the Sarnia-Lambton Economic Partnership, or as we refer to as SLEP. So, Chantel and Dan, it's nice to see you again, and welcome back to Plympton-Wyoming.
Great. Well, thanks for having us. We're delighted, and it's a dynamic duo presentation today. So we're going to do a little tag team, and I guess we'll just get started. Eh? Yeah. There we go. So we're actually nearing the end of a new strategic plan. So this information will change slightly, but since it's not public or council or our board hasn't approved it yet, I'll share where we've come from. There won't be a huge deviation, but basically as an economic development organization, our mission is to advance economic opportunities in this region through leadership, collaboration, and strategic direction. In particular, we're here today to share that we want to collaborate with you folks among those other things in there. And our vision is economic growth and diversification to expand prosperity and to elevate Sarnia-Lambton as an exceptional place to live and do business. And if there's anything we can do with you folks, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, we're happy to get our fingernails dirty, roll up our sleeves and work with you. As I mentioned, we're currently working on a 5-year strategic plan, quite a bit of public consultation, some one-on-one meetings with various stakeholders. We're working right now on what we're calling our public-facing document, which will be sort of crisp and clean and pretty straightforward for the public and all those stakeholders to understand. And we're really happy with the direction that it's going, and we hope you will be too, but we think you folks will be delighted. We have our AGM is on the 27th of June, and that's when we'll do the reveal. From a service delivery perspective, our primary role is investment attraction and to make sure that our community is ready. It was interesting. Yesterday we had a meeting with I didn't count them, 11 or however many planners there are in the county. We met with all of them. So it's sort of a really good opportunity for those that may not be familiar. Planning and economic development need to both work together. They have very different functions. As noted, economic development is very sales and entrepreneurial oriented, and planning is very policy and process oriented. And sometimes those relationships, while well intended, don't always meet the same objectives, but that's good. We were all friends yesterday and we had smiles and we all talked about how we could work together and again, collaboration. So that was quite good. Site selection, basically what that means is primarily industrial and commercial sites. We deal with the pipeline, if you will. So the province and the federal government have people looking for investment opportunities. We're on their radar. We work with them. And we also go out to targeted trade shows based on our strengths, find investors who want the sites that we have. And foreign direct investment would be a version of what I just shared with you. For example, Matthew, our senior economic development person, was in Rotterdam a few weeks ago. He'll be in Houston. Some of our other team members are out west, go out west with a focus on, at the moment, sustainable chemistry. So, low carbon activities, and hydrogen in particular is a big focus of ours. This is still me, right? That's right. So a lot of also what we do, so beyond investment attraction, which is kind of the, the sexier, the headline stuff, businesses need help. Businesses need support. And that's a big part of what we do as well, whether that's through consulting and consultations, which Chantal will talk a little bit more about, or, accessing to key resources, business planning, et cetera. So just FYI, a rule of thumb is 65 to 80% of all economic development comes from existing businesses. So it may not be the headline stuff, but it's the bread and the butter, and it's the nuts and bolts, and that's how you keep your economy and your community prosperous, is to keep what you have and figure out how to grow it. We're doing a lot of work right now on immigration, workforce development, talent, recruitment, retention, training, very important. For those that maybe you folks are aware, is there's a globally, Western Hemisphere, Canada, here in Sarnia, Ontario, there's a challenge in getting the kind of talent that we need, possibly due to COVID, baby boomer retirements, et cetera, maybe even with the immigration. We don't necessarily acknowledge skills like certifications that might make it easier for some of the new Canadians coming here, et cetera. So lots of challenges there. And then I'm still doing downtown, right? You want to take it over?
Absolutely. Right. So the majority of the funding for the economic partnership comes from the County of Lambton. But within the economic partnership, we have what is called the Business Enterprise Center, which is a provincially funded service and part of a network of 54 enterprise centers across the province. And through the Business Enterprise Center, we help our small business community as well as our entrepreneurs looking to get started with a small business. So through the Business Enterprise Center, we provide one-on-one confidential business counseling services to anyone interested in the service. We also answer inquiries, general inquiries about how to start a business, even if they're not ready to sit down with us. We offer seminars and networking opportunities for entrepreneurs, as well as seminars. And we run some grant programs, which is what brings a lot of people through our doors. Often small businesses are looking for some support funding, as well as some validation for their idea, which they often get through applying for one of our grant programs. We have a program called Starter Company Plus, which I'll tell you a little bit more about later, and a program called Summer Company for Youth to attract young youth who are looking at a entrepreneurial experience. And we help them by giving them that experiential learning opportunity while they're still a student. We run a program called Digital Main Street, which helps businesses with the digital transformation, as well as grants and training. We run a program specific for food businesses at a regional level, as well as a project to help support our agriculture community called Hands to Table, which is designed to help drive demand through consumers for local food products in restaurants. I'm going to pass things back to Dan, who's going to talk a little bit about how we work with municipalities.
Great. And hopefully you appreciate where we're coming from. What I might not have mentioned is really our role is we're here to serve the community at large and Plympton-Wyoming as well. So consider our door open and our phone and our emails available if you ever want to reach out and have questions or need help, or find a business that needs help, or even you might see some opportunities that we don't see because you're on the ground here. We actually right now we have 2 downtown revitalization programs happening through the Rural Economic Development Fund, one in Petrolia and one in Lambton Shores. So that's where we work with the community, if there's a BIA, and the businesses, and really help them identify what their needs are and then work on a plan and then assist where we can on the implementation of the plan to help grow the downtown. We have been working with St. Clair Township, who basically is out of wastewater for the next round of expansion. So it's a good problem to have. We've connected them with some resources that might help them if they need to lobby the government. We would work with them on major grants. Last year, they asked us to go to AMO with them and meet with the minister to bring a municipal and an economic development voice so that they understood kind of the importance and the need for wastewater. So if you ever need us to attend meetings that you think there would be benefit in bringing ECDev to, we'd be happy to do that. I mean, I'll just tell you sort of a little bit tongue in cheek. So I was a couple of weeks on the job and we'd met with St. Clair Township and offered, that we do anything we could to help. And they said, well, we're going to be in Ottawa at AMO, and could you come literally for a 15-minute meeting? And it's not that I didn't want to go, but that's a long way to go for anyway. So I went because we offered, and we put our money where our mouth is. And if we say we're going to help, we're going to show up and help. So just want you guys to know that's and I figured there would be more leverage than the 15 minutes, and there was, and so it was a worthwhile event. We have branded now for about 18 months this community as Ontario's hydrogen hub. I'm a marketing guy, and I can tell you it's not just marketing. We have the most hydrogen assets in Ontario, primarily due to our petrochemical industry. And the goal is, how do we leverage that towards low carbon green hydrogen? And in fact, the new gas-fired plant was just announced. It's going to come on stream, and it will be hydrogen, meaning when green hydrogen is ready, they'll be able to switch from natural gas. So that's another exciting piece of the puzzle as we build, the case to green hydrogen here. I mentioned, so we were in Chicago. In fact, I'm not even sure we were in Chicago. I think we were not in Chicago. We were part of an Ontario Alliance. And for whatever reason, we didn't have the capacity to attend, but that show was a food show that brought a lead. And so we work as a community within the province with other economic development agencies. The lead came to us. It's a bit unusual if we don't attend the show, but that shows the good collaboration that we have with our partners. And we were lucky enough to get a BC Foods, which came into an existing building and now is creating a few jobs and an opportunity to expand from there. Still on, I think. Great. So as I mentioned, bottom line is every municipality is different, and we're here to represent the region and each municipality. So wherever there's opportunities to work together, we're happy to do that. We've had some high level and maybe even mid-level conversations on potential projects with you folks and through the mayor. And if that's something that you folks want to pursue, it's something we'll do offline. We'll roll up our sleeves and go, all right, what is the opportunity? What role can we play? How can we help you folks out? And that's what we're here for, is to work in partnership.
I'd like to share a little bit of information with you about how we've worked with Plympton-Wyoming in the past. I've had the opportunity to work with the CAO and the Plympton-Wyoming planner for a number of years now, where we would have quarterly meetings and check in quite regularly on the activities that we had going on in our office and find out what the priorities were. So we are really looking forward to continuing that relationship with Dan and myself. So to give some examples of the types of work that we have done, we have assisted with some grant applications that Plympton-Wyoming had applied for, kind of sharing our knowledge and working as a partner, providing letters of support and guidance. We've provided digital Main Street support to over 23 businesses over the last couple of years, which means they got grants as well as training and guidance through those programs. We have worked with Zachfeld, Local, Great Lakes Goat Dairy on the Hands to Table initiative. And through our Starter Company Plus program, we've provided grants as well as mentoring and training to a number of businesses. I'll name a few. Sweet Maple Designs, Blue Point Public Relations, and Suncoast Naturals have all been part of those programs. And I think every one of them would be happy to talk to you and tell you about the value they got out of it, not only from a grant perspective, but the sense of community that they get by participating in the networking events with other entrepreneurs, as well as the mentoring component that we bring that each of them receive for over a year. So to expand on that, we've also engaged with the CAO and planning on different conversations around how to revitalize the downtown. Currently, as Dan mentioned, we're doing downtown revitalization projects extensively with Lambton Shores and Petrolia, but we've had the conversations about how we can bring that same knowledge and apply for those same types of programs for Plympton-Wyoming. We've had conversations with different potential investors and people looking at the area. I've been brought in on those conversations on how to grow the area. And we've provided some support around the incredible growing community that Plympton-Wyoming is, and how to make sure that new residents are feeling welcomed in the community, and that we're designing programs and support services to reach all of Plympton-Wyoming. And lastly, I'll kind of end that piece with the fact that we do business retention and expansion meetings with existing businesses in the community. What that entails is us going out to visit businesses to learn more about what challenges they're having, what successes they're having, and kind of what their longer term growth plans are. It really is about building a relationship with the business community so that we can connect them to the programs and resources that are available to them at the time, but also have that awareness in that relationship so that when we become aware of what's available to them, we can pick up the phone and make that connection. It also helps us know, how to connect them with each other when there's opportunities for them to help solve problems within our small business community. So currently, we are excited about a conversation and a project that we are having with Plympton-Wyoming around developing a case for some commercial activity in the Lakeshore region. So we're really excited about going down that path with the team in Plympton-Wyoming, and we are open to how that evolves and what that looks like and what kind of relationship that we can bring to the table and what kind of guidance. Happy to serve you. If you have questions, we're happy to answer them at this time.
Okay, council, we've got probably a few minutes. I can stretch a little bit into this. We are limited for time, but as you are aware, we've had some preliminary talks and with SLEP, and also looking forward to our working relationship moving forward. I can share with you that this council is progressive. We do want to make some changes, adjustments, or whatever to develop our business areas. So council, I'm going to give us 5 minutes. And if anybody has any questions for Chantel or Dan, now would be the time, but after 5, I'm going to have to cut it off, council. To my left, Councilor Wolvett, do you have anything to ask?
Very interesting conversation you had here today, and I happened to have had the opportunity today to attend Lambton College on graduation day for one of my granddaughters. But the point I wanted to make is at graduation over the next 2 or 3 days, so there's 2,700 graduates coming out of that college in all categories. And it was absolutely interesting to really just sit there and think about Sarnia-Lambton and the quality of students that are coming out of those programs. However, there was one area that I'm concentrating on because I've talked about this for years, and that is lower level of construction in the trades programs. I mean, I've seen lineups there, hundreds of students in the computer and the design and power engineering, but when it come to the tradesmen, the lineups were not near as big. And I know that we're in huge demand for that level of the experience in the trades. So that's something I would like to see. I'm not sure how deep you get into that, but we have a lot of young people that maybe have a little more difficulty getting up to that level of college to be a carpenter, to be a whatever, pipe fitter. So I'd like to see the more onus on that. And I know that the provincial government dived into that a bit, and they're now starting to let I think it's from grade 11 people actually start to get into the trades before they even graduate from high school. And I think that's a great thing. So I'd just like to see a little bit, maybe even get involved a little bit more in that. And just one other comment, if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor, like farm safety, we're seeing some people from your organization getting involved with us for economic development in the farm sector. And helping us and assisting us in, putting some programs together and suggesting a lot of good things. So I think that's really important too in the farm sector, that they have a hard time getting workers. And as you very well know, the majority of it is immigration, right? They depend on immigration. But once again, we also have people in our own province or country here that they're capable if we can just give them a little help getting into it. So that's all I have, just very interesting.
Thank you,
I
Councilor.
can comment on the skilled trades piece. We do work very well collaboratively on the workforce development side of things to help support that from both school boards. So they St. Clair Catholic District School Board and LKDSB. They're both engaged, and we did participate and help lead a skilled trades day. So they are working at it from the high school and elementary level to help encourage those career paths, because they are very in demand careers, and we need the growth in that area. So you're absolutely right to comment on that.
Thank you. Councilor Van Claveren.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chantel and Dan, thank you for that presentation. You certainly planted a lot of seeds and some great ideas. We are progressive. We're just getting our feet under us and just really want to focus on growth. You had mentioned revitalization of the downtown, for instance. That's big on our agenda for sure. Yeah, we would love to connect with you even more so to hydrogen. Hydrogen sounds interesting. Can we do anything in town?
Possible, but definitely, downtowns and small business, and as Chantel said, we are here to serve. That's our job, right? Our job is to help the community prosper and grow in areas that they need help on. So, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thanks for your presentation. And your last one was about regarding advancement of a plan for commercial land development along the lake shore. Is there anything you have in mind?
I would say we're pretty early conversation at this point. We have met and started to form a bit of a working group around that. But at this point, I think it'll require some research before we kind of choose what
I
direction.
thought maybe you might be a little more advanced already, and we had a great big plan.
I think
But yeah,
I think with sort of literally, we're not the leader of it. We're there to serve, meaning what's Wyoming's vision, and then how can we play a role to do the advancement? So it's like, think of it as a partnership, but not that we won't lead, but we need to follow your lead in terms of where you folks want to take it, and then we'll work with you alongside of you.
and timing. And we have had kind of preliminary conversations with OMAFRA and our contacts there, because a big part of what we do is helping to make those connections to find out what programs are going to be available for this type of initiative before we start down that path.
It's nice
That
to
work has
hear.
started.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Councilor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you for your presentation. Happy to see you here. We are a rapidly growing jurisdiction, and we have very little in the economic growth area. So it's exciting to know that there is some sort of partnership starting to develop. Wyoming here definitely could use some revitalization, and but Lakeshore, the northern hub in Kamlaki, also where the bigger population growth is, also could use some services out there for sure, especially with the Huron Shores Optimists looking to put a big outdoor rink there. And so having some supporting businesses would be excellent. So I'm looking forward to seeing what else can be done.
Thank you. Councilor Basie.
Nothing really to add. Great presentation. In my totally unprofessional opinion, we need help with it, and we're looking forward to getting stuff done. So some guidance would be greatly appreciated.
You got it. We'll work on the details.
Councilor Bojan?
Thank you, Your Worship. Nothing for me really, just to thank you for the presentation. I'm fortunate enough in my other life as a staff member to work very closely with Chantel and Slep, and they have a lot of good resources. It's just a matter of reaching out to them and collaborating. So that seems to be underway. Thanks for the presentation.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate both your time and we're looking forward to continuing our relationship.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for having us
Thanks
today.
for having us.
Welcome. Thank you. Yeah.
Good meeting.
Good. Thank you very much. Okay, council, let's roll right in. I've got, we're gonna go to section 4. I have motion by Councilor John Van Claveren, seconded by. I would think that would be Councilor Wolvet. Minutes be adopted by council on those confidential minutes of the closed sessions. Council remain confidential and restricted from public disclosure in accordance with the exceptions provided in the Municipal Freedom of Information Protection of Privacy Act. Include the regular council meeting minutes of May 24th, 2023, the closed regular council meeting minutes of May 2023. Council, you've all had any chance to review them. Are there any questions, comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those, yeah, sorry, Councilor Wolvet.
I just wondered if there's any comments on the corner of Oil Heritage and Douglas Line. Which was in these minutes. Any other comments?
Yes,
Wait till later.
So Sabansky, do you want to address that now?
Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
I did provide a letter to the county of Plympton, which I believe you received a copy of. The county has confirmed they are in receipt of that letter, and they will be taking it up with one of the committees responsible for transportation to move forward.
Council, now call for the vote. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, council, we're gonna go to item 5.5. This is arising from previous meetings. Clerk, do we have an item?
I believe Mr. Spansky has an item for Business Horizon.
Okay, Mr. Sabansky, do you have an item?
So last meeting, I believe Councilor Vasey brought up that the Inn of the Good Shepherd's mobile food market was looking for a new location. They had originally been located off of Ontario Street. My understanding is that location is no longer available to them. At the suggestion of council, I made contact with the group to see if we had any facilities that would be helpful to them. And it was determined that McKay Park would be an interesting location. They've agreed to host at McKay Park. Staff was planning to bring a agreement similar to what we did last year with DIPS to council for consideration at the next meeting. However, the Inn of the Good Shepherd needs to relocate immediately, and they want to get out the advertising. So their due date for print shop is tomorrow. So in lieu of being able to bring you an agreement to authorize through bylaw, and asking if council would be considered to pass a motion endorsing having the Inn of the Good Shepherd's mobile market located at the McKay Park. And staff be directed to bring back a formal agreement for council's approval. That endorsement will allow the Inn of the Good Shepherd to release their advertising materials and would allow staff to continue to carry forward with a formal agreement.
Mr. Vasey,
Make that motion.
is there a seconder for that motion? Councilor Rodriguez? I think it's a very admirable move. I think it's well needed and personally would support it. Just wait for the clerk to prepare it. Councilor Wolvet?
We have some questions on the.
Yes,
Um,
I was going to read the motion, then we'll go for questions.
Sure.
You okay?
I can wait.
Monthly. Is it a monthly program? You think? Okay.
We're going through 14 locations in Plympton. Yes.
Okay, I have a motion by Councillor Basie, seconded by Councillor Rodriguez. The council approved the mobile market hosted by the Inn of the Good Shepherd, permitted to use McKay Park for their weekly program. Agreement be brought back to council for approval. You've heard the motion. Are there any questions on the motion? Council Willett?
I think it's a fantastic idea, but is there any, the only question, has there any requirements for fire inspections or anything like that on these mobile? I'm just liability and stuff, just making sure that.
Personally, I'm not aware of any. That being said, I understand the mobile food market has been operating for a number of years throughout Hampton County, including in Wyoming existing. So I presume that they are already meeting or exceeding those codes.
Yeah, I'm just not sure what fire department, ever looked at others. I know the one out along Lakeshore Road at the Christian campground had to be inspected, but that's a French fry truck, not a.
And this one is currently operating on Ontario Street at the housing complex there, but it's that location is no longer available to them. So they're looking for a new publicly owned location to locate themselves at.
All I have.
Any other questions? Councillor Rodriguez?
Is this the only location in Plympton-Wyoming that they? In the northern half, Kamlaki area?
They asked specifically for a location in Wyoming, so I provided them locations in Wyoming.
Call for the vote. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, let's go to item 6.1, 2023 council remuneration. Moved by Councillor Bojan, second by Councillor Basie. The council remuneration claims for May 2023 be approved for payment. Any questions? All those in favor? Carried. Okay, we're gonna go next to item 7 on the agenda. Staff reports. The first one is 7.1. Moved by Councillor Rodriguez, second by Councillor Basie, that the report by Adam Szymanski, Director of Public Works, dated May 31st, 2023. Regarding the installation, line stops on the Front Street water main just east of Broadway Street to facilitate the future reconstruction projects within the Wyoming urban area. Be received in the quote from TKO Industrial Services, $44,839.64 plus HST be accepted. And Councilor Bojan, if memory serves me right, we just ran through the environmental committee.
That's correct.
Council, that's the motion. Is there any questions on that? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. I'm sorry, Councilor Van Claveren, did you?
Was there more than one quote? I didn't necessarily see that.
Chair, if I may.
Yes.
No, sir. Line stopping is a very limited scope of work. There's only about two to four companies that I'm aware of Ontario. I've spoken to numerous companies in the past, and they're so busy in chemical industry and in the Toronto area that it's hard to get quotes from them. TKO Industries, their main project manager and on-site supervisor, has worked through a number of companies in this area. So he's been doing line stops in Plympton for a notable amount of time. And his quotes over the years have only had fairly inflationary increases. So we have not gone out for additional quotes due to the fact that this contractor is aware of the lines. We're doing line stops in asbestos cement, which is also more challenging. Therefore, it would be quite challenging to get those additional quotes, and why we sole source this one.
Is it ever appropriate, maybe one little baby question, is it ever appropriate to negotiate? If it's one individual to negotiate their fee structure?
If we noticed a significant increase in cost over the previous ones, it would be something we would discuss for sure. In situations like this with a specialized contractor, negotiating is more challenging due to the lack of competition. But with contractors with more competition where we have an existing relationship, we do enter into negotiations on these quotes to try to lessen the costs on a regular basis.
Thank you. Yep.
Further questions? And now I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, council, we're gonna go to 7.2. Moved by Deputy Mayor McEwen, seconded by Councillor Van Claveren, that the report prepared by Adam Sabanski, Director of Public Works, dated May 31st, 2023, regarding quotations for fire hydrant flow testing services. We received in a bid from Flow Metrics Technical Services Incorporated for $29,233.77 without HST be accepted. Again, I believe this one was before the Environmental Committee as well, Councillor Bojan.
That's correct.
Any questions on that motion? Call for the vote. All those in favor? Carried. Council, we're going to go to 7.3. Moved by Councillor Van Claveren, seconded by Deputy Mayor McEwen, that the report by Adam Sabanski, Director of Public Works, dated May 31st, 2023, regarding the 2023 Ontario Trillium Fund Community Investments Capital Grant be received, and that council directs staff to submit an application for the construction of AODA washrooms at Canton Park. Are there any questions? Hearing none, I'll call for, yes, Councillor Bovet.
Do we have any other parks that need AODA washrooms,
Yes, sir.
like McEwen Park, and probably don't own those yet, so correct. Probably the reason we didn't include them.
Yes, sir.
And hydrant too.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fair enough.
If I may add to that, I did get an email from the Kamlak Lake Association asking if their property had been requested on Mini Lake Park. And although it's not mentioned in the staff report, staff did consider that property prior to authoring the report. That property wasn't included in the report due to the potential future recreational facilities that are being considered in that area, as an AODA washroom would likely be constructed in conjunction with those. Additionally, we have a higher level of reserves saved for the Canton Park washroom. We have been saving for that project for a number of years. So given the value of the grant and the value of reserves currently put away, this project likely would not necessarily need any additional tax revenue to cover the costs. So that's why it was selected as our preferred grant application.
Mr. Sabanski, if I may ask you, what's the estimated cost to do something like that, to convert that washroom over?
This would not be to convert that washroom over.
The new one?
Washrooms there are beyond conversion. This would be to build a new facility similar to what we have across the road at Centennial Park. The average price between the Centennial Park AODA washroom and the Lamrecton washroom was about $150,000 pre-COVID. So that's why I'm suggesting a minimum budget of $200,000 for this round.
Good. Any further questions? Okay, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, council, we're gonna go to 7.4, moved by Councillor Basie, second by Councillor Bojan, that the report prepared by Adam Sabanski, Director of Public Works, dated May 31st, 2023, regarding the proposed Marcotte Disposal Incorporated contract extension be received and approved, and that the bylaw 67/2023 be taken as having been read 3 times and finally passed, And the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. Again, I just believe this is environmental. It's not.
That's correct. Yeah, we discussed it.
Are there any questions on this? Councilor Wolvett?
If you don't mind, Mr. Mayor, I'll just make a comment on this because I just think it's, the council needs to know, and they probably already do from reading it, but there is a slight increase in your garbage and recycling costs with this extension to the contract. And it's not a big increase, but if you look down through the tables down there, you'll see the new rates, and I think Adam can explain them as he did to the environmental committee, but you need to have that information to know. We've already set the budget this year and inform people of what their garbage and recycled costs are going to be. Now, this will change it. So I just needed to mention that.
Chair, if I may. So after calculating out the new contract costs, we don't believe that this contract will change the pricing for this year's garbage budget. So no changes are required. Budget. Yes, it is an increase. The vast majority of that increase is as a result of providing increased yard waste pickup. When we first started discussing this contract negotiation, it was actually notably more than what we came down to. So we sat down with Marcotte to discuss innovative ways to reduce costs. We also initially asked them to give us a price to include yard waste pickup in the Plympton urban areas. As we felt that there has been inequity in the service levels currently provided. As we sit down with Marcotte, we felt that the providing yard waste twice a year, so for 4 weeks each spring, and for 9 weeks each fall, would significantly reduce the amount of yard waste being going into the trash, and would therefore reduce their hauling costs. So through those discussions, we were able to add yard waste collection in Plympton urban area, increase the amount of yard waste collected throughout the season, and with only a moderate increase to the contract overall, when considering that it also includes those yard wastes. So given the increase is notable, but it will be covered under this budget, and it does provide a notably higher level of service to the urban areas of the town of Plympton-Wyoming.
Thank you, Mr. Sabansky. Any other questions? Okay, let's call for the vote. All those in favor? Carried. Council direct attention to 7.5, moved by Councillor Vacy, seconded by Councillor Rodriguez. That report prepared by Adam Sabansky, Director of Public Works, dated June the 1st, 2023, regarding the food waste diversion food cycler pilot program be received, approved, and that bylaw 68 of 2023 be taken as having been read 3 times, finally passed, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. Again, I believe this was recommended by our environmental committee to proceed to council. Are there any questions on this? Councillor Vacy?
Yes, your worship, thank you. Reading through this, there's 2 different units. You guys looking at like half and half?
Yes, sir.
Need to know. Thank you.
Van Claveren?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, just to be clear, we would be on the hook for over $12,000, is that right?
At the end, if we sell out, the total value left to the town would be $12,759 with 84 cents with net HST. Our initial investment would be $35,000, $259.84 with net HST. So then citizens who have signed up for the program would pay for the town for those units. And then that would drop the value down to 12,000.
Okay, so that's for the initial 100
Yes, sir.
units. I find that's a very interesting dynamic. I mean, if I was in the food recycling business, sounds like a great marketing tool. I'm just not sure why we need to be part of it. So 100 families are gonna get an incredible deal on this unit. You may never, ever sell another unit. There's still no guarantee they're gonna use those units. In fact, they might even sell them on marketplace and make a huge profit. I'm not trying to be negative, but I just think this is a real interesting dynamic. When a lot of folks still have their composter in the backyard or a garden or yeah. I guess that's all I got. But I'm not real excited about it, to be honest. I think it's a great little unit, but I just don't know why we've got to spend all this money on it, but that's just me.
No, you're, Councilor Rodriguez.
I do have to agree with Councilor Van Claver with his point.
Should I just drop my pen?
Oh, goodness. It's just not. I agree. I mean, it's 100 units. We have a population of 8,500. So it's very limited and with a great cost to it. I like anything that helps promote and divert waste. But this food cycler is limited, more limited, I think, than a direct composter, which is, from everything I've read, the best form of composting still. You know, and there's still a lot of food that you can't put in this little food cycler. A lot of people may not realize that. They may look at it as it really is a limited thing. And I think maybe investing in subsidizing composters, natural composters, might be a better way to go about it and serve more of the community for.
You might be better off spending that 12,000 on shares in that company. Be better spent.
Okay, well, aside from that. I have some concern, but I'm not gonna, I'll support it, but I just don't think it's a great use of trying to really solve some of our problems.
Mr. Sabansky.
So, and thank you, Mayor Atkinson. So to be clear, we had a presentation from this company probably about 2 months ago. The direction coming from that presentation was for staff to bring back a proposal. Here is the proposal. Staff shares your concerns. They're not cheap units. There's only 100 of them and it still requires a notable tax investment. But this target is not for those who are willing or able to home compost. This is targeting more urbanized properties who do not necessarily want food waste in their backyards attracting pests or do not have the land to compost themselves, as they may be very close to their neighbors. They don't want to necessarily have composting smells in the backyard. So the target market for this would be more dense urban areas such as portions of Wyoming or portions of the lakefront area where they don't necessarily have the yard, gardens, or access to dispose of the compost. This is much smaller, so it could be used for potted plants and other items. Staff have considered providing compost bins. That's a discussion we've actually had with Marcotte. Part of the discussion with Marcotte was attempting to reduce our organics in our waste. And we agreed that throughout the next 5 years, the town would look at, like we've done with the blue boxes, look at providing home composters at a reduced cost to our residents, and this program came along. So it's a way to reduce the amount of organic waste in our yard waste. The composters have been talked about at the staff level. That's why we haven't heard about it yet. We're planning in the next 5 years to bring something to council with that proposal, but we're talking compost, so I thought I'd bring it up today as part of this discussion.
Just.
Councilor Rodriguez.
When you said targeted market, so that was what I was actually thinking, where this would be beneficial, like maybe seniors. And apartment owners or things like that. But you don't like that. How do you do that is that something you're gonna put together where those will be the first people available for this? Those are the people you want to see get this first, because that's where it would be most beneficial.
You're correct, it is most beneficial, but I think the advertisement that the company puts out is not necessarily solely targeted those people, but that being said, there are people who own very large properties who do not necessarily garden and who do not want a traditional compost in their backyard. So it would probably be not the best course to only allow those people with smaller lots or apartments to utilize it when there could be a larger demographic who could see some benefits. Again, I've outlined the pros and cons as provided by the company in the report. Staff doesn't feel staff feels that $12,000 in the end is a reasonable investment for a trial program. It is not cheap though. It'd be better used elsewhere. That all depends on the pickup and who wants to take it. That's why it's a pilot project. You have to take some chances to see the use. And St. Clair has had some success with it, so.
Yes, I'm aware of it. There's both.
Councillor Bojan and then Councillor Van Claveren.
Thank you, worship. I guess that's a question building off of Mr. Zbansky just said about talking with Marcotte preliminary about. So are you referring to green bin pickup by Marcotte, or you're just referring to having them in your kitchen and then taking it to your backyard?
Yes, sir. In-home on-property composting, looking ways to promote that and reduce the amount of organics in our waste stream currently.
I do agree that would be probably something that we could offer to everybody. Interesting. For the same compost.
Councillor Van Claveren.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It'd be no trouble to sell 100. They got that if that's considered success, you can sell them overnight for 100 of them, no problem. I just don't know why we have to subsidize. If folks see the value in this, then pay for it, in my opinion. And I also think it sets a bit of a precedence. What's the next pilot project that we want to subsidize? I mean, I've seen the commercials and so on too. I mean, they are really cool, but I don't see why we have to pay for it.
Councillor Basie.
Yeah, sure, worship, thank you. I see what you're saying. We don't have to offer them the subsidized pricing and they can pay full off for it.
Yeah.
The idea is it benefits us in the long term, gets it out of our garbage. And less on that side, so it's basically paying for itself anyway. I would not, will not compost. It's just another thing to keep the dog out of and everything else. This thing I would use. I don't have a big farm property. Right, so it was something I would use, I would participate in it. I think the discount in the product is, correct me if I'm wrong, you're gonna keep track of what you've done. How successful is this thing? In a year from now, do we buy 100 more? Or do we buy 500? That have reduced that much? Or is it something that sits in your counter and then after 6 months it went in the garage and then it's out in the yard sale?
Bread maker and
Exactly.
Instapot and yeah.
We've spent.
I've got every one of them. I think it's worth trying. Would I go out and buy one for $500 to try it? No, I wouldn't.
See, and that's,
Spend or whatever the price is to try it. I would. And plan to.
Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, I think if anybody wants one, they can go out and buy one. I don't think we need to spend $12,000 on something like this. We're already going to spend more with Marcotte. And here's the garbage. If people want to look after their guy, the dogs don't get into the compost. They would, no,
It's the foxes.
no, right, mole once in a while, that's all. So, no, I feel it's expensive, but, it's not. You're gonna have this big piece of stuff on your counter, another thing on the counter. Anyway, I'm not in favor.
Any further discussion? Okay. Call for the vote.
Can you read the motion again?
I sure can. Thank you, Councillor Basie. It's moved by Councillor Basie, seconded by Councillor Rodriguez. That the report prepared by Adam Sabansky, Director of Public Works, dated June 1st, 2023, regarding the food waste diversion food cycler pilot program be received, approved, and that bylaw 68 of 2023 be taken as having been read 3 times, finally passed, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. Okay, council, call for the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is defeated.
Unless it makes hydrogen.
Then you'll notify that company.
Yes, sir.
I'll notify the 3 people that told me they want it on the list right away.
You can blame me.
Kristen and Gary,
They're watching. I know they.
Yeah, that's too bad.
sorry, Meg, it cost me $200 more.
Okay, let's go to item number 8, Councilors Report, Deputy Mayor.
Councilors reports, I went to a conference this last week where. Oh, I went. Really? Went to a conference this week and for the Committee of Adjustment, and it was good. That's the same report that you guys gave when you went to the Good Roads Committee. How's that? Did you do anything to
This guy sat in on the drainage committee. And we had a landowner by landowner, 2 days of landowner by landowner visits here to talk about the O'Brien drain. And it's first time they ever did it in that format, and it was very well received. Yeah. And we're really good. That's all I have to
Are the
report.
future drains going to be done like that?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yes, yeah, particularly if there's any, like this is particularly long drain, it's a big one.
Yeah,
And lots of work to be done on it. So probably a case by case basis, yes.
Mr. Robert,
We did a cemetery tour and put a pretty big list together for trees to be planted, repairs to stones and maintenance stuff that goes on. It's about a 6-hour tour. Listed a lot of stuff. We've had a fire board special meeting, as you all know, and have put together a job description for the hiring of a fire chief. That it was put out today, I believe, or yesterday. So that's out. So thank you for all the input there. And I guess I can make the announcement now, but on Sunday at 2 p.m. we'll be having the cemetery decoration day. It'll be at the cemetery, but it looks like it'll be at the cemetery. Helen and I are following the weather. It was supposed to be bad, but things look like they're improving. If it isn't there, it'll be at the Legion at 2 o'clock. And I also attended a farm safety meeting last night and in Petrolia at Krabby Joe's, a terrible meeting. Room we had booked, they give it to somebody else, and we're out in the general public on wing night. So you could imagine,
We would have went with you.
I'd never heard of dang things. I do have a 2 or 3 minute video. If I could get permission to show it, that come out of the farm safety, or do you want to keep that for new business? It just shows a few safety things that might be interesting, but
We'll hold off on that.
okay.
Denny.
I may. So since the start of the meeting, when you asked about that, I realized that there's no sound that comes out of this computer. It only comes out of this one, and I don't have the connection to get that video on the stick on this computer.
That's fine. We'll, farm safety has asked that be put on the town's website in all the municipalities, so I'll just pass it off to the clerk, and it's a safety videos, different, and we'll put it on our.
Excellent. Thank you.
That's all I have, Madam Deputy Mayor.
thank you. Mr. Bougen, you had a special events.
We had special events and we had environmental services. We've gone through all the reports from the environmental services, but I do want to make a note that we also saw that there were several residents using the sump pump and backwater valve grant. So I just wanted to make note of that to say it's been successful. I'm really glad to see that program being used. For the special events committee, we did have a meeting on Monday. The 2 picnic in the park events are behind us. They're really successful again this year. At both events, I would say we probably had more people than last year. And they're now focused on a Canada Day event, which is on July 1st. They originally, with town staff, applied for a Canada Day grant to try to do a drone laser show instead of fireworks. We didn't get as much money from the grant, so they have bumped the event up from 11 till 3 p.m. so people can still go to fireworks after. And they're planning a lot of great stuff with a dog show, something called Jelly Ball with Ballyax. So there's a lot of good stuff planned for that. That's 11 to 3 on Canada Day.
Thank you. Mr. Vacy,
I've done nothing since, our-
shame on you.
nothing to report.
Okay. Rodriguez?
Just a special fire exec meeting and Councilor Woodman's always spoken to.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy. First, couple things to share with you. I shared earlier that the Agricultural Hall of Fame are recognizing George and Agnes Dickinson, to James Johnson and Don and Ann McGugan on June the 16th. It will be a virtual recognition. And then on July 22nd, there'll be a live presentation and a live event at the Oil Museum Canada in Oil Springs. Earlier today, I was at County Council and a couple presentations that were given to us that I think you will find interesting. First of all, one was the Western Ontario Words Caucus, the chair of that presented to us, and some interesting statistics came out of it. There are 300 committees that this has of members that it has. There are 16 upper single tier municipalities. There's 1.5 million residents that are involved in it, within it. And they advocate for the province, with the province for all of the needs that counties have. There are 3 priorities that have been set for 2023 and 2024. Housing priorities. The second one is the workforce to support economic development. And the third one is mental health, addiction and homelessness. They work towards striving to eliminate that as their projects for this next term. Second one was a local lady from originally from Petrolia, lives in Sarnia now, that was promoting residency programs for doctors. We know there are some we're very fortunate in Sarnia Lambton, quite a few doctors coming and setting their practice up, but there's a lack of residencies. So she was promoting that we look for a pilot program. And obviously she's been working through our MPP's office, who I understand has taken it to the Minister of Health. But I have nothing further on that, but apparently we are losing a lot of those residents to New York State. There's doesn't seem to be the opportunities here. So I believe last year there was around 1,485 residents that have gone over to New York State. So we're training them and away they go. The push is to have them stay here within Ontario, especially in Sarnia Lambton. So that's all that I have. Good turnout, as Councillor Bojan has said, at the Lamrecton there across the road there for the picnic in the park, and certainly looking forward to Canada Day. So if any councillors are available and around that day, certainly a good opportunity to be there and support our committee and the work that committee is doing. So that's all I have at this time, Deputy. Thank you. Nice to have you back.
Thanks. There was one thing, the museum opened on Saturday, last Saturday, the same day as Lamrecton had the special event. Or Lakeshore rather, and it was a very disappointing turnout apparently. So about 5 people came and 3 of them were interested in only one thing and looked at it and went. So they're going to brainstorm, and if anybody has any ideas on how to put some life into a museum. I don't know how you do that because everything's very old and dead, you know. So, but anyway, we need, yeah, if you have any ideas at all, please come forward with them, and I'll deliver those ideas if they're good ones. That's. Oh, yes, Rodriguez.
Is there internet?
Yes,
Needed to know that for some ideas.
yes. Okay. That's all.
Thank you. Okay, council, let's go to next on the agenda, item 9.1. Motion by Councilor Rodriguez, seconded by Councilor Vacy, that the minutes be adopted by council and those confidential minutes of the closed sessions remain confidential and restricted from public disclosure in accordance with the exemptions provided in municipal freedom of information and protection of privacy. That would be your Parks and Recreation meeting minutes of April 25th, 2023. Carmichael Drain Branch C Extension consideration meeting that was held May 24th, 2023, as well as the O'Brien Drain Branch A consideration meeting of May 24th, 2023. Council, you've had an opportunity to read those in your agenda. Any questions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Carried. Item 10, clerk, is bylaws. Do we have anything under that?
No items at this time.
Okay, item number 11, correspondence for action required. Thank you. Okay, council, I'm going to take us to item 12, correspondence recommended reading, routine approval and information items. Motion by Councilor Bojan, seconded by Councilor Vacy, that correspondence items A to N relating to recommended reading and routine approval and information items not otherwise addressed by resolution be noted as received by the Plympton-Wyoming Council and filed accordingly. Council, I'm going to begin on my left. Are there anything that you'd like to see pulled or recommended? Councilor Wabet?
J is one that I was reading. The only thing is, I'm not sure the particulars in it, but it talks about County of Lanark wishes to express its support for legislative measures to help first responders from violence, particularly those found in Bill C-321. Paramedics and other first responders provide an essential and valuable service in the community and are often subject to increased levels of violence due to the nature of their jobs. It's essential that all government unite to demonstrate the importance of safety and well-being. So the legislation, that's the part I don't have the details of it. So, but I certainly do support any violence towards first responders is not acceptable. So it's hard for me to say, let's support it when I can't answer what C-321 says.
Deputy Clerk, you pulled that up for us to look at?
It's the letter from Lanark County.
There a resolution with the letter?
It was just a letter that was circulated to municipalities.
Okay, so because we don't have, you just wonder, Deputy Clerk?
If I may. What we could do is we can recirculate this letter back to council at the next meeting, and we can also, in the meantime, circulate the particulars of Bill C-21. Sorry, Bill C-321.
Council okay with that? Thank you, Deputy Clerk. If you could follow up on that, that would be great.
All I have, sir.
Okay, Councilor Van Claveren,
Nothing for me, sir.
Deputy Mayor?
I was interested in, does anybody know what this bus tour for the Lambton Federation of Agriculture entails?
Who they didn't
If
announce it.
it's similar to the previous one, they, you get on the bus and they take you to 2 or 3 different major farming outfits that we have in Lambton County. And I think somewhere in there, they supply you with lunch as well. I did one a couple of years ago. And I would recommend it if any counselors are available that day.
Sign up ahead, does anybody know? Like.
Yeah, I think the information's coming out on that.
Oh, it's coming up. Okay, okay.
Save the date.
Details coming soon, of course,
Yeah.
if you read the last line.
Yes. Just being proactive, Deputy, that's good. Anything else?
No.
Councilor Bojan?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Deputy, or sorry,
Deputy Bojan Vacy.
Councilor Vacy.
Yeah, H. The request for sponsorship from the Guardian Angels golf tournament in Petrolia. All proceeds going to sexual assault in Sarnia. You're looking for some whole sponsors and whatnot at $100, I think it's something we should maybe support if we can.
Clark, or sorry, Deputy CAO, have we ever sponsored anything as municipality? To your knowledge?
We haven't. That doesn't mean we can't. It would go through a grant procedure, wouldn't it?
Usually they come, yeah, but this is like a golf tournament and they probably didn't know
Yeah.
at grant time.
That's right. I think I would.
I was just gonna say that, yeah, if we get a request that they're looking for funding for the year ahead or whatever, it would come at the budget time. But this is an event happening now, so it's coming way for council and you can make a motion if you choose to.
Rodriguez.
Thank you, Your Worship. Maybe we can have a letter sent back to him to explain to him how maybe we can be part of grant money. So that way they know for next time.
Along with a check.
Yeah, or along with the check if you want.
Councilor
it
Basie.
cash?
Councilor Basie?
You guys be open to we sponsor it as a council,
Mhm.
$10 piece, $12 piece.
Sure,
Yep.
yeah.
Put that way. 100%.
All right, let's do it.
We could table this and talk about it.
You don't need to have a motion if you're gonna do it.
But can we still send him a letter?
We would definitely apply for the
Oh.
process, yeah.
Let's figure out if we can do something. Okay, thank you.
Nothing else? Councilor Rodriguez?
Yeah. Okay. Resolution Quinte West re-renovictions. It's a resolution. Evictions are a big problem in this province and they're happening in Sarnia. I know people who they're happening to. In London, I know plenty. It's a big problem and that needs to be addressed by the government.
So are you proposing that we
Support the resolution.
vote so we can do this? Anything else, council? Except. I'm sorry, Councilor.
That's okay. Mr. Mayor, thank you. Yeah, on K. It would be, I think it would be neat to have discussion on that or maybe do some more information on it. Before we decide to formulate a letter and just send it off. I think it's a much bigger dynamic than it might appear. There is some bad apples out there for sure. But then there's a lot of good landlords that are also stuck in some pretty rough spots too, so. It might be something that there's a little bit more there than meets the eye. Yep.
So would you prefer to discuss that now or?
We could, but I wonder if we take till the next meeting. Perhaps just to do our own homework on it. Inform ourselves a little more so.
Form our own letter of resolution, is that what you're asking?
I believe that Councilor Van Claveren is looking at further discussion on this. Pros and cons.
Yes.
Would that be correct?
Yeah, that'd be correct, but we might have to prepare ourselves individually before we can thoroughly discuss it.
Similar to what we're doing with the one council that brought, is that? Or we're coming back,
On not K. The renovictions,
yeah, but I just maybe to do the same thing we do with council rule vets.
fair enough, yes, yes, yeah.
Deputy Clerk?
Okay. So basically, we would just bring back K, resolution from Midwest, rerun evictions at the June 28th meeting. It gives council the time to read up more on run evictions. Similar to what we did with violence towards parents. Sorry, Jay. Lanark County Violence Victim.
Thank you. Yeah.
Council okay with that?
Yep.
All right, let's do that then. Okay, so I got a motion by Councilor Bojan, second by Councilor Vacy, the correspondence. Items A to N relating to recommended reading and routine approval and information items not otherwise addressed by resolution. Be noted and received by the Plympton-Wyoming Council and filed accordingly. That's all I need. Okay, call for the vote. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, let's roll into item 13, new business, Councilor Bojan.
I know, shocker.
Councilor Vacy.
Yes, thank you. Got a call this week about the water pressure in our north end of the town. I know it's gotten full of that. I didn't really have an answer to it. I know there's been stuff going on. When I was on the fire department, we were gonna connect the two pipes. If that ever got done, that's where we stood, so we could.
Chair, comment?
Yes.
Thank you, Councillor Vacy. I get a lot of phone calls about water pressure in Wyoming. Wyoming, compared to many other municipalities, has notoriously low water pressure. Wyoming, due to its elevation of its tower, is held to 40 PSI at all times. Any more than 40 PSI, it overflows to tower. 40 PSI is typically the minimum we try to achieve in a distribution system. So connecting the line has been connected to London Line. I think the 2 years before we constructed the trail, a line was ran from the London Line water main through to connect into Wyoming. However, that line still has a pressure reducing valve on it. And that pressure reducing valve is still set to ensure the water tower doesn't overflow. So although it's provided a secondary line, if the Confederation line were to go down, it really did nothing to improve overall pressure to the system. So the only way that we could overcome those pressure challenges would be to abandon the tower and therefore not have any emergency storage. Or would be to take the tower offline and use it in a different manner, which is currently used, which was discussed in our drinking water master plan from 2017. Now, curious enough, Laws's waste drinking water master plan said the exact same thing. It would be also beneficial for Laws to take over the tower, run a dedicated line, taking the tower offline on London Street, and then connecting it directly to their system. If that happened, their pressure reducing valve would control the tower. They would use it for kind of augmenting our pressure while they're pumping water so that we don't lose pressure. But that would also mean that our valves in the Wyoming area could be opened up to about 60 pounds of pressure, which would greatly increase the amount of residential pressures that we see. Fire pressure prior to that connection to London Street was an issue in some areas. It's not typically an issue to the best of my knowledge anymore, due to the fact that the secondary connection and those pressure reducing valves actually open up during a fire event or a flow event, and they push a slug of high pressure water to the area where it's being used, not overflowing the tower. So the flow testing that you actually just all approved would help confirm that, and our flow testing we did 5 years ago also showed that. And so, yes, we have bad pressure. We do have plans to fix it, but it will take, considering a lot of it's at the Laws Board, it could take up to 5 or 10 years, but we are planning to get it fixed.
Anything else, Councilor Vacy?
No, that's kind of what I thought. Thank you.
Rodriguez? Sorry, about, is this relating to this?
Related to this topic. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
What is the standard water pressure for most municipalities? Is it 60 or a lot of them have 40?
I would have to look up the design parameters from the MOE, but I know 40 is typically your minimum residential pressure you want to achieve. 40 is very low.
And I guess the other thing I would say, like, if you took it from 40 to 60 pounds here in Wyoming, some older lines and stuff like that, could that cause some problems jumping it up
Yes.
50%?
Yes, sir. You wouldn't jump that up in one day. You would jump up 3-4 pounds every month.
See how it's
Let
gonna
it sit for a month or two and jump it up another 3 or 4 pounds at a time.
I'll tell you why I asked the question, Mike, out of our area. The water pressure was probably down around 40 pounds when we moved out there. But then they jumped it up and we all started to have problems with our hot water tanks. We're blowing safeties on our hot water tanks because they upped the pressure, dug it up and upped the pressure. And personally, myself, what I had to do is go and get Plympton-Wyoming to put a expansion tank on my hot water tank to counteract that pressure. That's why I asked that question about going from 40 to 60, what effects it could have here in Wyoming. So
And that is the challenging aspect too. Under current building code, all new homes have to have pressure vessels inside of them for the hot water tanks. Because most municipalities now require backwater or back pressure valves, so that their water does not get into our system. So what happens is the hot water tank expands the water. Well, if the backflow valve stops the water from going into our water main, it releases the pressure valve. So all of our houses in Plympton-Wyoming should have a pressure valve, or sorry, backflow prevention valves. Because of that, if we were to increase the pressure, we would probably be issuing a notice that to the property owners, ensure that you have a pressure reducing valve on your line, which is also a requirement in our municipality. And if you don't have a pressure vessel, have a plumber installed.
what we had to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Your Worship. So two things, parks, ownership transfer. Parks, where is that at? Like, we're way past the 45 or whatever. Or maybe I have to ask at the next conservation meeting.
I don't believe we've heard anything else.
I have draft agreements in my hand. I've been going through them and I've sent a couple of revisions back to the Conservation Authority. I got the latest revision back a week ago. I have not got the chance to go through them and I will be doing so shortly. My understanding is that the Conservation Authority has asked us to hold, bring the agreement to this council until their board receives them, which should be at the end of the month. So once the board has received them, they'll be brought to this council for endorsement.
Good news.
Right. And fire. We've had extreme drought conditions. And I do know that we have open burn bins. But we're still allowing the backyard fires. But I think we're getting record low fall in the last month. Is there plans if we still do not, I know there's a chance we could have some rain, maybe Sunday, Monday. How significant it will be, I don't know, but is there plans to maybe step up that ban, if this drought, these drought conditions continue?
Deputy CEO.
So acting Chief Scott Jordan was talking to me about it and that he's watching what's going on and being prepared if he needs to issue that. So he is very aware of that.
Okay.
I don't know if he's coming today, he made any other decision.
Your worship, was there anything discussed at the county meeting today? I've
No.
got countywide ban.
I saw that it was going to be, but I think it got forgotten.
Oh, okay.
He's monitoring that and.
That's good, and hopefully the county.
They may have slipped the agenda today.
That would be it. Thank you.
Deputy. Mr. Van Claveren.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. There's been some feedback on various motorized gas vehicles zipping around town. Appear to be driven by minors, mid-sized tractors, ATVs. Whatever they can fire up and put gas in, they're driving it. So, yeah, if anybody sees anybody, maybe they can pass a note along.
Councilor Mazie.
Yes,
The ones driving.
Oh.
Yeah.
to that, I've been That's the same type of thing. What recourse have we got? I know there's a bunch they go across and get the tracks, and where they go from there, I don't know, but is it just straight to the OPB?
Yes.
But I will tell them.
Thank you.
Anything else, Councillor Van Clever?
Not for me, sir. Thank you.
Councillor Wolvet?
Think for me today, so.
I have a couple items. Number one, I've had a complaint. Well, actually, before I left the picnic in the park, I had a couple complaints about the traffic on, especially on the weekend on Devonshire. We have an Airbnb out there that the residents complaining of them exceedingly amount of time to leave their residence to get out to Evergreen and then out on the lake shore. So I had suggested to them, once they calm down, that they should be calling either the police or Mr. Soderman's for our bylaws to attend there. Maybe if staff could mention to Mr. Soderman to maybe do a tour out there on the weekend to ensure that that's not a problem again. Secondly, I was brought to my attention, I know we all probably saw it on the news, about the fire of the wind turbine outside of Godrich last week, and I'm sure our firefighters also are aware of that too. Well, I believe our policy, but they don't fight them, they just keep the area secure. We don't have the training for that, but it was brought to my attention by a resident, and I said I would share it with council. And thirdly, I don't know if any councillors have had a call from some of the campers up at one of our campgrounds on Lake Shore complaining about the rate of the passes for visitors to come into the campground. I personally informed the camper that it was not our jurisdiction, it was the campgrounds, shared that with them. If they have a concern, they should be dealing with those people, but just let you be aware in case you do get a phone call that will occupy some of your time. So I'll just share that with you. And basically, that's all I have under new business. So, okay, council, we'll do a motion to go in camera, and then we'll take a 10-minute personal break. I have a motion here by Deputy Mayor McEwen, seconded by Councillor Van Clavern. The council move into an in-camera meeting of council pursuant to section 239 of the Municipal Act 2021 as amended for the following reasons. Item A, personal matters, section 239 bracket 2.b, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. Item B, litigation matters, section 239 2E, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or a local board. Also call for the vote. All those in favor? Carried. Council, I would ask you to be back in your chairs by